Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna Stories. She always took up space. At dinner, she'd reach across my plate. At my graduations, she'd find a way to be tired, needing to leave early. At my engagement party, she wore off-white, close enough that people noticed and then pretended not to. My mother smoothed it over. She's just excited, you know how she is. I knew how she was. The wedding was outside, early October, the light soft and golden. I stood at the altar watching people find their seats. My sister walked down the aisles last, deliberately late, her heels sinking into the grass. She smiled at me as she passed, not a happy smile, a waiting smile. During the toast, she stood up, glass raised. People quieted, expecting something warm. She waited until the silence was full. "This is what you get," she said, loud enough for the back rows, for acting like you're better. She threw the champagne sideways across the cake. It soaked through the white frosting, dripping pink and gold down the tiers. Then she grabbed the top layer and pushed. It collapsed slowly, a wet, crumbling sound. People froze. My new husband stepped forward, but I put a hand on his arm. My mother reached her first, wrapped both arms around her, rocked her slightly. "She just needs to let it out," my mother said over her shoulder to me. To everyone. My sister's face was buried in our mother's neck, but I could see her eyes watching me, waiting for me to break to give her the center one more time. I said nothing. I turned to the caterer and asked if they had sheet cake in the back. They did. We served that. My mother stayed with my sister on a bench near the parking lot the rest of the reception. That night in the hotel, I sat on the edge of the bed while my husband slept. I opened my laptop. My sister's college tuition deposit was due in 3 days. I had access. I'd been paying for her school since I got my first job at 19. Not because I wanted to, but because my mother asked, and I never learned how to say no. I pulled the payment. Then I went to the leasing portal for the apartment near campus. I'd co-signed in June. My name came off with 2 clicks. I closed the laptop and watched the ceiling turn gray. At 8:40 a.m., my phone rang. My mother, then my sister, then my mother again. I let them ring. At 9:56 a.m., I called the financial aid office. I explained I was the account holder and needed to discuss a student's enrollment. They transferred me to someone who listened. I told them my sister had been accepted early decision, which is binding. She'd signed the contract in February. I explained that her funding was withdrawn and her housing voided, meaning she could no longer fulfill the terms without violating the agreement. The woman was quiet. Then she said she'd look into it. At 11:15, my mother called again. I answered. "You need to fix this," she said. "No hello. She's hysterical. She's going to lose the whole year." I said she should have thought about that before she ruined my wedding. My mother's voice softened, the same voice from the reception. "Sweetheart, she's struggling. You know how she is. She needs consequences," I said. "And you need to stop confusing love with enabling." I hung up. That afternoon, my sister drove to my parents' house. My father called me, which she almost never does. He didn't ask me to change anything. He just said, "Your mother is beside herself, but I understand." Then he paused. I should have understood sooner. The university sent a certified letter 3 days later. My sister's acceptance was rescinded. She couldn't appeal. Early decision is a contract. She'd signed it. My mother left voicemails for a week, then stopped. My sister posted nothing online. For someone who lived for attention, the silence was louder than anything she could have said. I didn't feel victorious. I felt the weight of what I'd done, sitting next to me in the car, at the kitchen table, in bed. But I didn't undo it. Months later, my husband asked if I regretted it. I thought about her face at the altar, about my mother's arms around her, about 27 years of reaching across my plate. I said, I regret not doing it sooner.